Hello students, welcome back to my class. I am Mohd Asim, your English teacher. Today I am going to teach the subject Honeysuckle. In Honeysuckle, I am going to teach you chapter number 1. The name of the chapter is Who Did Patrick's Homework? Who did Patrick's homework? In its topic, the topic itself has a question. Who did Patrick's homework? Is it Patrick who did the homework, or there is someone else who helped him to do the homework? So we will try to find out the answer of this question in this topic, in this chapter. If there will be any difficult word, you can find the difficult word at my left side in typed form. So let's start the chapter. So first of all, let us see what is given. Who did Patrick's homework? Part number 1. It is given point wise. There are 10 points. In first class I will teach you 5 points, and in the second class I will teach you rest 5 points. So point number 1 is Patrick never did homework. Too boring, he said. He played hockey. Patrick never did homework. Too boring, he said. He played hockey and basketball and Nintendo instead. His teachers told him, Patrick, do your homework or you won't learn a thing. And it's true, sometimes he did feel like an ignoramus. But what could he do? He hated homework. In the first point, it is given Patrick never did homework. Patrick was a child who never did his homework, who don't like to do the homework. And too boring, he said. He said, too boring, homework is too boring. It is too boring to do the homework. For Patrick, the homework was too boring. He played hockey and basketball and Nintendo instead. Nintendo is a kind of video game. He played hockey, football, Nintendo at the place of doing his homework. Means he never did his homework. At the place of doing his homework, he played hockey, football, Nintendo, etc. Means he was only wasting his time by playing the games. His teachers told him, Patrick, do your homework or you won't learn a thing. His teachers always told him, Patrick, do your homework, otherwise you will not learn a single thing. If you want to learn, you should try to do your homework. And it's true, sometimes he did feel like an ignoramus. Ignoramus, meaning of ignoramus is an ignorant person. And it's true. It is true. Why? Because sometimes he feels that he is an ignorant person. Uneducated, you can say. He is an educated person. He lacks the education. Feels like an ignoramus. But what could he do? He hated homework. But what could he do? Why? Because he hated the homework. Means he could not do anything. Because he hated the homework, that's why he was not doing his homework, and because of that he was not able to learn anything. Now come to the second point. The second point is, then one day he found his cat playing with a little doll and he grabbed it away. To his surprise, it wasn't a doll at all, but a man of the teeniest size. He had a little wool shirt with old-fashioned breeches and a high tall hat, much like a witch's. He yelled, "Save me, don't give me back to that cat. I will grant you a wish, I promise you that." In this paragraph, the writer tells us that then one day he found his cat playing with a little doll. Then one day he found that his cat was playing with a little doll. There was a little doll and his cat was playing with that little doll, and he grabbed it away. Grabbed, snatched, you can say. खींच लेना, छीन लेना. And he grabbed it away, and he snatched the doll from the cat. To his surprise, it wasn't a doll. But when he saw the doll, he was surprised. Why? Because it wasn't a doll. In reality, it wasn't a doll at all, but a man of the tiniest size. But it was a man of the tiniest size. It was a very small man. It was not a doll. It was looking like a doll, but it was not a doll. At that place, it was a tiniest size of man. Very small man. He had a little wool shirt with old-fashioned breeches. He had a little wool shirt. That little man wore a little wool shirt with old-fashioned breeches. With old-fashioned breeches, you can say short trousers. He wore short trousers and woolen cloth, and a high tall hat much like a witch's. And he also wore a high tall cap. There was a high tall cap, and it was a cap like the witch's. It was much like the, and a high tall hat much like a witch's. It was a hat like a witch's hat. Witches जिसको हिंदी में चुड़ैल कहते हैं. यू कैन से वुमन मैजिशियन टू. इट वॉज अ tall head. The tiniest man or a tall head like the magician woman wear. He yelled, "Save me!" He yelled. He shouted. Yelled means shouted. He shouted, "Save me! Save me!" He shouted to Patrick, "Save me! Don't give me back to that cat. Please, you don't give me back to that cat. That cat will hurt me. It would hurt me. I promise you, I will grant you a wish. I promise you that. I promise you, if you will save me from that cat, I will give you a wish." Now come to the third point. Patrick couldn't believe how lucky he was. Here was the answer to all of his problems. So he said, "Only if you do all my homework till the end of the semester, that's 35 days, if you do a good enough job, I could even get A's." Patrick couldn't believe. Believe, you can say trust. At that time, Patrick couldn't believe that how lucky he was. That he was as lucky as he seems to be. He thought that how lucky he was. He couldn't believe on himself that how could he be so lucky. That the person, that the tiniest man is told him to give him a wish, to grant him a wish. Here was the answer to all of his problems, and now here was the answer of all his problems. The big problem, the greatest problem of Patrick was to do the homework. And so he said to the tiniest man, "Only if you do all my homework till the end of the semester. Only if you will do all my homework till the end of the semester, that will last for 35 days. If you will do that, then I will save you from the cat. If you do a good enough job, I could even get A's." If you good enough job, if you will do it honestly, if you will do it you can say with hard work, I can get A's. I could even get A's. I have the time of 35 days. It means I could get the A's. Means I could get the good grade. A is the symbol of good grade. As you get the grade A grade, B grade, C grade, like that. So Patrick told the tiniest man, "If you would help me, I would get a good grade in my examinations, in my term examinations, semester examinations." Now see the fourth one. The little man's face wrinkled like a dishcloth thrown in the hamper. He kicked his legs and doubled his fist, and he grimaced and scowled and pursed his lips. Oh, am I cursed? But I will do it. The little man's face wrinkled. झुर्रियाँ पड़ जाना, wrinkle झुर्रियाँ पड़ जाना. The little man's face wrinkled. छोटे आदमी के चेहरे पर झुर्रियाँ पड़ गई because he didn't know anything related to the homework of Patrick. So the little man's face wrinkled like a dishcloth, like a dishcloth. Dishcloth, a cloth that is used to wash the dishes. एक dishcloth की तरह से वो बिल्कुल सिकुड़ गया उसका चेहरा. Like a dishcloth thrown in the hamper, that is thrown in the hamper. Hamper, a bucket that is covered with a lid is called the hamper. Thrown in the hamper. His face was like a dishcloth that was thrown into the hamper. The face of the tiniest man at that time was like the dishcloth that was thrown into the hamper. He kicked his legs and doubled his fists. He kicked his legs and doubled his fists like that. He doubled his fists means he was in a great thinking. He was much confused. How could he do the homework of Patrick? And he grimaced and scolded and pursed his lips. The meaning of grimaced and scolded and pursed his lips is expression showing disgust, anger and disapproval. Means he was not agree to do that. He was not able to do the homework of Patrick. That's why he was much in disgust, he was disgusted, he was in anger and he was not approving, he was disapproving this disapproval. Oh, pursed his lips. Oh, am I cursed? Oh, am I cursed? क्या तुम मुझे कर्स दे रहे हो? क्या तुम मुझे बद्दुआ दे रहे हो? Am I cursed? क्या मैं कर्स हो गया हूँ? मेरे ऊपर किसी की बद्दुआ लग गई है? But I will do it. But I don't have any other thing to get rid of from the cat. That's why I will do it. I will do your homework. अब बिल्ली से बचने के लिए मेरे पास तुम्हारा होमवर्क करने के अलावा कोई रास्ता नहीं है, इसलिए क्या है, मैं ये करूँगा. I will do your homework. Now come to the fifth one. And true to his words, that little elf began to do Patrick's homework, except there was one glitch. The elf didn't always know what to do and he needed help. Help me, he would say, and Patrick would have to help in whatever way. I don't know this word, the elf squeaked while reading Patrick's homework. Get me a dictionary. No, what's even better, look up the word and sound it out by each letter. And true to his words, and the elf was true to his words, and the tiny man was true to his word. अपनी जो है बातों पर बिल्कुल पक्का था, अपनी बातों का सच्चा था, इसलिए उसने क्या किया, द लिटिल एल्फ यू कैन से ड्वार्फ, द लिटिल एल्फ बिगैन टू डू Patrick's homework. The little elf started to do the Patrick's homework, and except there was one glitch. Glitch means problem. There was one problem, and what was that problem? The elf didn't always know what to do, because the elf didn't know what to do. At all time, Patrick had to help the elf to tell him how to do the homework, and he needed help, and he needed the help of Patrick. So all the time he called, help me, he would say. He always say, help me, and Patrick always helped him. And Patrick would have to help in whatever way, and Patrick would have to help in whatever way he could help him. चाहे जैसे भी वो उसकी मदद कर सकता था, उस तरह से वो उसकी मदद उसको करनी पड़ती थी पैट्रिक को, एल्फ की. एंड पैट्रिक कुड हैव टू हेल्प, एंड पैट्रिक हैड ऑलवेज हैव टू हेल्प द एल्फ इन वॉट एवर वे ही कुड हेल्प हिम. I don't know this word, the elf squeaked. Squeaked means you can say told. The king, the elf squeaked, the elf told, I don't know this word. Showing a word to Patrick, he told the Patrick, I don't know this word. Please tell me this about this word. While reading Patrick's homework, while he was reading the Patrick's homework, he showed a word to the Patrick and told him that I don't know this word. Get me a dictionary. Please get me a dictionary. Please give me a dictionary that I can search the meaning of that word. No, what's even better? No, you don't give me the dictionary. What's even better? It is better look up the word. You look up the word in the dictionary. He told the Patrick to look up the word in the dictionary and sound it out by each letter. And you sound it out by each letter and you pronounce it letter by letter. और इसे तुम letter by letter pronounce करो that I can understand about the word. So this is the point number 5. Now see the next one. Point number 6 is when it came to maths, Patrick was out of luck. What are times tables? The elves shrieked. We elves never need that. And additions and subtractions and divisions and fractions. Here sit down beside me. You simply must guide me. If elves know nothing of human history, to them it's a mystery. So the little elf already a shouter, just go louder, go to the library, I need books, more and more books, and you can help me read them too. In point number 6, it is said that when it came to the maths, when it was the turn of the homework of math, Patrick was out of luck. At that time Patrick was out of luck because elf didn't know anything in math. What are timetables? What are timetables? The elf said, the elf shrieked, the elf shrieked, the elf shouted. He asked, what are times tables? I don't know times tables. We elves never need that. We elves never need timetable. So I don't know timetable. And addition and subtraction, and we also don't know addition, about subtraction and division and fraction. We don't know anything related to these things. Means elf don't know anything related to mathematics. Here sit down beside me, you simply must guide me. That's why the elf requested Patrick to sit down beside him and guide him doing the homework. Elves know nothing of human history. Elves know nothing of human history. We don't know anything about the human history. To them it's a mystery. To them, for the elves it is a mystery. History is like a mystery. So the little elf already a shouter, just go louder. So the little elf already a shouter, just like a louder, means most of the times he started shouting to help him. Go to the library, he told Patrick, go to the library, I need books. You go to the library, I need books. Without reading books, I can't understand about human history. More and more books, you bring me more and more books that I can read and do your homework. And you can help me read them too, and you will also help me to read them. और तुम उन बुक्स को पढ़ने में भी मेरी मदद करोगे. Now come to the point number 7. As a matter of fact, every day in every way that little elf was a nag. Patrick was working harder than ever, and was it a drag? He was staying up nights, had never felt so weary, was going to school with his eyes puffed and bleary. As a matter of fact, every day in every way the little elf was a nag, one who troubles someone. As a matter of fact, it was a fact that every day in every way the little elf was a nag, was a troublesome person for the Patrick, because he was always troubling him. And Patrick was working harder than ever, and Patrick was working harder than ever. He had never worked as hard as this time he was doing. This time he was working. And was it a drag? And it was like a drag, something dull and uninteresting. Although it was something dull and uninteresting for Patrick, but he was doing his work. He was staying up nights. Means whole nights he tried to do solve the problems of the elf. Had never felt so weary. Had never felt so weary. He never felt so weary as he was feeling now. Was going to school with his eyes puffed and bleary. Was going to school. Whenever he was going to school nowadays with his eyes puffed and bleary. His eyes are very tired because of the study of the night. So nowadays whenever he goes to school, his eyes are very tired because of his work in the night, because he was working hard now. Now point number 8. Finally the last day of school arrived and the elf was free to go. As for homework there was no more, so he quietly and slowly slipped out the back door. Finally the last day of school arrived. Now it was the last day of Patrick's school and the elf was free to go, and now the elf was free to go because he promised him to help till the end of the semester. As for homework there was no more. As if we talk about homework, there was no any more homework. There was no more. As for homework there was no more, so he quietly without making any noise, secretly you can say, and silently slipped out the back door. He went out from the house of Patrick, from the back door of the Patrick. He went out from his home. Now point number 9. Patrick got his A's. His classmates were amazed. His teachers smiled and were full of praise, and his parents, they wondered what had happened to Patrick. He was now the model kid, cleaned his room, did his course, was cheerful, never rude, like he had developed a whole new attitude. So Patrick got his A's. In the examination, Patrick got his A's. Patrick got good marks, and his classmates were amazed. They were surprised. Amazed means surprised. How could Patrick get a good mark? His teachers smiled. On Patrick that he is doing well. His teachers smiled and were full of praise, and they were also full of praise. They were also praising Patrick for working hard. Full of praise. And his parents, do you know about his parents? His parents, they wondered, they are also surprised what had happened to Patrick. He never did his homework. Now he has got the A's, he has got the good marks. What happened to Patrick? He was now the model kid. All the parents told their child to follow Patrick because he was doing well. Cleaned his room. How? Cleaned his room. He always cleaned his room. Did his course. He always do his course. Course means work that must be done every day. He always do his daily work. Was cheerful. He was always cheerful. Never rude. He was never rude to anyone. वो किसी से कभी जो है rude होकर के बात नहीं करता था. Like he had developed a whole new attitude. It was like he had developed a new attitude. Now in Patrick's, he had developed in himself, Patrick developed a new attitude. Now come to the 10th and last paragraph of this chapter. You see, in the end, Patrick still thought he would make that tiny man do all his homework, but I will share a secret just between you and me. It wasn't the elf, Patrick had done it himself. You see, in the end, you can see that Patrick still thought he would make that tiny man do all his homework. Patrick thought that it was the tiny man who did all his homework. But I will share a secret. Now I am going to share you a secret. एक secret मैं तुमको बता रहा हूँ. Listen the secret just between you and me. This secret must be known to me and you. And what is the secret? It wasn't the elf It wasn't the elf who did the Patrick's homework, but Patrick had done it himself. But it was Patrick who did his homework. But Patrick did his homework himself. It was not the elf who did his homework. So this is the story of who did Patrick's homework. So this is the answer of who did Patrick's homework. Means Patrick himself did his homework. So this is the chapter who did Patrick's homework for today. My class is over. Thank you. Have a nice day.